Well, today finds me with Tom. He's one of my viewers. He's very kindly agreed to talk to us about his experience of buying his first EV. I'm Dave. Welcome to Dave Takes It On. So thank you, Tom. It's very kind of you to put yourself in front of the viewers.
You're welcome.
I'd like to start way back before you actually get your first EV.
Yeah.
So what did you used to drive?
So my previous car was a BMW 3 Series.
Right.
And it was probably 10 years old.
Okay.
When I sold it. Yeah. It was
Had you had it from new?
It was, I think I had it 6 years.
Okay.
So it was 4 years old and it was a diesel. So it was a 318 diesel.
Right, so quite efficient.
Quite efficient.
Quite efficient.
Reasonably, yeah.
So what were you getting out of it roughly? Did you know?
I think it was the high 30s.
It was, okay.
Yeah, because it was a lot of, I mainly use it as a commuter car. So, yeah, it's a lot of stop-starting, short journeys.
Okay. So your main use for any car is commuting?
Yes, yeah.
Do you do regular long-distance trips?
Long trips to the lakes and maybe down south, down to Devon once or twice a year, but it's mainly commuting.
It is, okay. And in terms of usage and family, you're a married man, you've got one son.
Yes.
So obviously pretty much any car will suit that.
Yeah. We have a dog. It's a small dog, so it fits in the car quite easily. Just one car family. Yeah,
that's fine.
So yeah.
So at what point did you suddenly start thinking, I need an EV?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to change the car because I was aware that at the age of the car I was at, I'd be starting to get problems.
Yeah. Expensive problems.
Expensive problems. So I was in the market for a new car and not necessarily an EV initially. But having done a little bit of research and spoken to a friend of mine who has got an EV, I decided that was the direction I wanted to go.
Okay, so at that point there's a wide range of prices for EVs. Are you in the bottom end, the middle end, or the top end? Did you have a budget set, or was it just, I think an EV is right for me? I had a budget in mind, but it was certainly the kind of lower end of the EV market. I was thinking I didn't know an awful lot about what was available out there. Okay.
So I looked at the possibility of a second-hand EV.
Yeah.
And then I came across the model of car that I ended up.
So you've gone for an MG4, and this today is one of the most popular cars and the fastest growing brands in the UK. So it's a really good choice. So you decided the MG4 fitted within your budget.
Yes.
And it's actually a good sized car as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I wanted something a little bit higher up.
Yeah, because your BMW
is quite low. Yeah, it was a sport model, so it was quite low. So I wanted something a little bit higher up. I needed some decent boot space. I wanted a hatchback.
Right. The BMW had a boot.
The BMW was a boot. Yeah, it's a saloon. So I wanted a hatchback and a little bit of space for the dog, really, as well.
And did you go and look at an MG4 before you ordered one?
Yeah. So I looked at the car online. I viewed a few videos.
Right.
And there's a local dealership, so I went to have a look and I went to have a test drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first thing, you sat in the MG4 in the showroom.
Yeah.
What was your first impression?
Yeah, I was really impressed. Really impressed with
what way?
Just the quality,
right?
The quality of the interior
compared to your BMW.
Compared to the BMW, the aesthetics. It's a nice looking car from the outside, and also the tech as well.
Yeah,
I mean my BMW, like I said previously, was 10 years old, so it's quite dated really.
Yeah.
So the tech in the MG is really quite impressive.
And the novelty of getting up into a car rather than down into the BMW, did that?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. It did. Yeah, because I'm 6 foot, nearly 6'3", so getting in and out of the BMW was getting getting harder.
Tell me I've got the Model S and mine's really low.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. So then you got a test drive. Fears, trepidation, worries when you sort of got behind the wheel for the first time? Did you have any real worries?
No real worries, to be honest. No, I mean, my BMW was an automatic.
Right.
So I think if I had to move from manual to electric, it might have been slightly more difficult. But with my BMW being an automatic, there wasn't... Yeah, I'm thinking back now because it was probably 6 months ago now that I had the test drive. But yeah, I just remember being really impressed by it and just thinking, wow, cars have come a long way.
Because a lot of people comment on the quietness, the silence when you're driving. There's no engine noise.
There was no fit. I was just really impressed with that. I just really liked that, and I just really liked how responsive it was. It made my BMW seem really sluggish.
It did. Okay, that's an interesting one because a lot of people say, when you get a sporty BMW, particularly if you go for an M series, that they can't recreate that in the electric car. But I think the thing about the electric car is the response is instant and constant.
Yes.
Whereas you change, even an automatic is changing gear. This electric cars just go.
There's no lag at all. It's just that smooth acceleration.
So you came out of the test drive really impressed.
Yeah.
At that point, were you looking at buying or leasing? Did you have a decision?
I'd made the decision that I would lease.
Okay.
Yeah, rather than buy.
What was it that made you do that? Because it's a growing market. There's about 30 or 40% of all cars now are leased in some way or another. So it's a massive boom market. But for you, I mean, I'll give you some ideas. Some people say, I'm worried about the battery. So if I can just hand it back in 3 or 4 years, I don't have to worry about it. Some people say, well, there's new technology coming along and I don't want to be lumbered with an old tech car like the BMW. So if I hand it back, I can get the latest. So there are advantages to leasing. Plus, they are cheaper to lease than they are to buy. So what was it with you that made you say leasing's for me?
I mean, your point is very valid there, and I considered all those points. I think... Because it was the unknown, it was an electric vehicle, and also because I didn't know an awful lot about the MG, so I'm reasonably new to the market. So I didn't have, I think it's fair to say I didn't have full confidence in the car and also the battery life. So I wanted kind of peace of mind, hassle-free driving. And although leases can be rather expensive, I'd done the maths, and if I offset the cost of what I would save on fuel, actually that would bring the lease cost down considerably.
Plus any repairs, because if you keep your old BMW, that would have been the bills. Bills would have been rising.
Yeah, and in theory, the service costs are minimal for an EV.
So just a point for some of the comments I receive about the sales of EVs crashing. What we're seeing actually is quite the opposite. EVs are growing rapidly, but the people buying them is changing. Tom previously would probably buy all his cars, whereas nowadays more and more people are leasing. So when someone leases a car, it means they don't buy one. So the market loses one private buyer sale. However, the leasing company that Tom went with, they buy the car off MG. So that's a sale to the fleet or the commercial side of it. So that's why people are saying that the private sales are crashing and the commercial sales are rising, simply because more and more and more people are leasing because it makes a lot of sense. So the end result is we have more drivers driving EVs, but less drivers buying them. And leasing for an awful lot of people makes a huge amount of sense. But I'll be doing a video on that in the future, so look out for that one. Anyway, sorry, back to Tom. So at this point you've been in there, you've decided to lease. Did you do your lease application in the dealership, or did you come back and do it online? What was the process?
Yeah, so I was almost using the dealership
Right.
to have a test drive because my lease wasn't connected with the dealership.
Okay.
It was a separate lease company.
Right.
Yeah.
So you'd done some research on the internet beforehand.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. You picked your leasing company.
I picked the leasing company.
And you picked your price and everything.
Yeah.
You went for the test drive to confirm that you wanted that car leased.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then you did your application online?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that a difficult process?
No, it wasn't at all. No, it was really straightforward.
Right.
So I was in constant communication with an operative,
right,
who was assigned to me.
Oh, right. So you get your own operative who's available to you.
Yeah. So whenever I needed any confirmation or clarity on an aspect of the deal, I had an operative to speak to who was assigned to me. Right. So it was done.
Sorry, he's wondering what's happening.
Although the deal was done online, I did have
it was over the internet, face to face rather than personal face to face. And that process, roughly how long did that take from when you said I'm having one to when they said yes, you've got your approval?
A few weeks.
It was a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm struggling to put an actual.
That's all right. It just viewers will want to know: is it hours, days, or weeks? So it's a few weeks.
It was a few weeks. Yeah. And the great thing about the model, it was available. It was available right away.
Right.
Yeah.
So you knew that when you were applying for your lease.
Yeah.
So at that point, then you got your lease approved.
Yeah.
And they then give you a delivery date for the car.
Yes.
Right. Did you go and fetch it?
No, it was delivered. Yeah, it was delivered to the door.
So this is all. This is like Tesla now, isn't it? This is brilliant. So you do your application online. You use the dealers for test driving, which is one of their purposes. They don't always want you to deal through them. Well, they would like it, but they realise that people do lease, and not always through them. So you applied online. You ordered online, and your car was delivered here.
Yeah.
Was it driven or put on the back of a low loader?
No, it was driven. It was driven.
Okay.
Yeah, and the gentleman who drove the car, delivered the car, he taught me through some of the basic.
Right. So you sat down in the car with him.
The car. He taught me through some of the basic operation systems, and I actually dropped him off at the bus stop, so I had a chance to drive the car with him giving me a little bit of instruction at the same time, so that worked out really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've now got your car, obviously, family's going to go in it, you want to drive. So you first drive out, this is your car now. How was that for you?
Yeah, a really nice experience, yeah. It's, again, it's a few months since that moment, but I remember thinking, it feels like I've made the right choice. Right. Obviously, I was able to go a little bit further in it than I was in the test drive, and you've not got the pressures of the salesperson sat next to you. So I could open it up a little bit, relax, and have a little bit of a fiddle with some of the controls. Really impressed with it, as I still am. And
your wife and your young son, they liked it straight away?
Yeah, my son came on the original test drive with me.
Okay.
So, obviously my wife uses it a lot, and she loves it. Yeah, she does.
So you've got your car, you're happy with it, right? We're 6 months later now. Any regrets?
No, not at all. Okay. Not at all. Yeah.
Should have done it sooner.
Possibly. No. It's certainly been the right choice. I've a few family members have changed their car recently,
right?
And I've questioned their decision to not go electric. Yeah, I really have.
Something you realise with EVs is that if you buy a new petrol car, people sort of go, "Yeah, that's nice." You buy an EV and you tell everyone about it, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
You want to look at this. All this.
Very much so.
It's quite weird. Yeah. And the same I find with filling it up. So your old petrol car, your BMW, you go to the garage, you fill up, and that's it. With an EV, when you're charging, you usually chat, don't you? I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah.
Have you done that?
Yeah.
People come up to you, I like that. What have you done? What have you got? You know. And it's going back to the old community days, really.
Yeah.
Whereas with petrol, you stand on a forecourt, breathing in fumes, and whereas here it's It's much more of a community spirit. So at this point, you've got no home charger, or have you?
No, I did have the home charger actually.
Right.
Yeah, I had it installed before the car. I was very keen to have it installed before the car arrived.
Excellent.
And I was very keen to have it confirmed that I could have
Right.
a charger before I agreed the deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that was a deal breaker for you,
it was.
that you
It was.
needed the charger.
Yeah.
So you've got your charger before the car arrives. So when the car arrives, the first time you plug it in at home, any problems?
No problems at all.
No.
Yeah.
So take me through a typical week.
Okay.
How many times do you charge it every night?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
How often do you charge it?
On average, probably about twice a week.
Twice a week.
Yeah.
And do you get really low on the battery before you plug it in, or do you have a limit where you think I need to plug it in tonight?
Yeah, I don't tend to let it drop below 20%
Okay.
charge. Yeah.
So you drive around commuting. When it gets down towards 20%, you plug it in at home that night.
Yeah.
And will it fill up by the next morning?
I don't charge it above 80%.
Right, but you set 80%.
I set 80%.
And when you wake up, it's always at 80%, is it?
Yes. Although I have recently changed energy provider.
Okay.
And I get very low off-peak rate.
Yep.
So, and it's on the app. I've got an app for the charger, and I can select not to charge the car at peak rate.
Peak times, yeah.
So sometimes it will not reach the 80%.
Right.
Okay.
And
So
is that an issue to you?
it's not an issue. No, not an issue at all. I mean, if I do want to fully charge it, it just means that I'm charging a little bit out of the off-peak. So yeah, it's not a problem.
So when you first had your charger installed, did you contact your utility company and tell them you got an EV?
Yes, I did, and I didn't hear anything back from them.
Really?
So I decided to change energy providers. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, the customer service was very poor. They didn't come back to me with any information about changing my rate.
So effectively, you were on standard tariff.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you found someone else. Who have you chosen it?
I've chosen Octopus.
Octopus.
Octopus
Okay.
Energy. Octopus Go. I think it's called.
Yeah, they have a huge number of tariffs.
Yeah.
The simple one is Go, which is for the electric car.
Right.
So you get a set number of hours at a really cheap rate.
Really cheap rate.
It's down about 7.5p at the moment.
It's 7.5p.
It is.
Yeah. So I think between the hours of, I think it's 11:30.
Right.
In the evening till maybe 6 a.m.
Right.
So
Okay.
7.5p.
And have you had any problems with not being able to charge it up when you needed to?
No problems at home at all.
Right.
I mean, I don't use public chargers an awful lot.
Yeah.
On a couple of occasions, the chargers have been out of order, but there's usually been one available.
Right.
Elsewhere at the service station. Yeah.
But from the home point of view, no problems at home.
No problems
you plug it in. Octopus Go allows you to program it to say charge between these hours, and you wake up in the morning and you just unplug it and off you go.
And off I go. Yeah. No problems at all.
That's great. And what's that done to the cost of running your car?
I mean, prior to changing provider, it was a lot cheaper.
Right.
But since I've changed provider, it's the cost is minimal. We went away over Christmas up to the Lake District and back, and it must have cost me a few pound. So yeah, it's a real game changer. It really is.
Well, there's a lesson for the viewers out there that you don't need to charge your car every single day. Most cars have a fairly decent range. If you can charge at home, then definitely get in touch with your utility company and get them to give you a quote. If they won't quote you, do like Tom's done, find someone else, because there are deals out there still, awful lot of deals, and it makes a huge impact on your charging and the running costs of the car. But in terms of actual figures, you used to put petrol in your diesel BMW.
Diesel.
Sorry, diesel in your BMW. Do you know roughly how much you pay a month in petrol?
Roughly, probably 130, 140 pound a month. Whereas now,
right,
with the new energy provider, it's probably under £20. Yeah.
So you've got £100 a month come off your running costs for the BMW, and that can go straight off the cost of the lease.
Exactly.
Which makes it a very attractive car.
Yes. Yeah.
When you look at an EV, you don't just look at the charging price, you look at your overall running cost, your operational cost. So things like servicing, I don't think they come with a service requirement, do they?
No. I think an MOT after 3 years.
Right. But they don't require you to go in for a service to keep the warranty.
No, they don't. No, it needs to be serviced, but it doesn't have to be done by.
Right.
It doesn't have to be done by them.
So that's another saving, because I would imagine your BMW used to have to do oil changes, filter changes.
Yeah. I used to take it to a friend of mine who owns a garage,
right,
and I told him I'd be changing to EV, and
he's lost you.
Well, I said, would you still be able to service? He said, yeah. But there'll be very little that I'll need to do. So he was quite complimentary of the EV. Yeah.
It just, if I break off for a minute, it is a changing world, that there are people going to suffer with EVs. Obviously, the garages who provide these services, there's a lot less to do on an EV, and consequently, it'll change. But there again, the market changed a long time ago. 100 years ago, everyone had horse and cart. And when the first petrol cars came out, everyone said, oh, you're going to put all the stables, all the stud farms, all the saddlers, everyone out of business, and it's going to be calamitous for the economy. And in actual fact, what we've seen with petrol cars, it's a massive industry in itself. Petrol stations have sprung up, motorways have sprung up, all these small service garages, MOT stations. So when one industry, in this case the horse industry, dies or fades away, another one's ready to take over. And I have a belief that the EV will have a similar growth, but it'll be very different. I'm going to do a video on this in the future. Anyway, sorry, back to Tom. So you've got your car, you don't have to do anything with it. You then had, I know you had a long journey, didn't you? And this was fairly soon after you got your car.
Yes, right. It was. I think it was within 6 weeks.
Right. Okay. Fear beforehand? You worried about it?
Little bit. I can't remember the term they use. Is it charge anxiety or range anxiety? Range anxiety. Yeah. So this was the only. We make this trip every year down to North Devon, and
so that from here, we're in Preston at the moment, so that's about 250-300 miles.
Yes. Yeah. So
you're not going to make that in one go.
Not going to make that in one go, but we do always stop off halfway down. We stop off just outside Bristol.
Okay.
So that was my opportunity to charge. I did a little bit of research. I contacted the hotel that we're staying at. Right. It was a hotel at a service station. Right. And there were charges on site.
Okay. Not hotel charges, these were public charges.
There were hotel charges, but they were Tesla charges.
Oh, right, okay.
Yes. But at the service station, there were
public charges.
Charges that would suit my vehicle. So, so we set off, we arrived at our stop-off point. Yep. We checked in at the hotel, then I drove round to the service station, and there was a charger available. Right. Yeah, I plugged it in.
Any problems?
Paid, and it was a slow charger.
Right.
But that was okay, because we were staying the night, and I woke up the next morning fully charged and ready to go.
It's one of the interesting things, because a lot of people think public chargers are always the rapid or the ultra rapid chargers. And if you're staying overnight in a hotel, it makes no difference how long it takes to charge. So there are slow chargers, these are type 2 chargers. It's a different plug to the CCS, which are the rapid chargers. but goes in the same socket,
Yeah.
so you don't have to do anything. But they are absolutely ideal for people staying in a hotel,
Yes.
charging overnight,
Yeah.
because you're not blocking a fast or rapid charger for someone else.
Well, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
They did say once your car was charged, you'd have to move it from that that charger. But
Yeah.
that wasn't the case for me because the charge took all night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And took me through to the morning when I woke up and then moved the car.
Yeah, it is one of those things that they were finding. There's a lot more. They call them fast chargers, but they're slow.
Right.
There's fast, which is up to about 7 or 11 kilowatts.
Okay.
And then rapid is 50 kilowatts and upwards.
Yes. Yeah.
So the what they call the fast, I call the slow chargers. They're intended. You plug them in at night. You wake up in the morning and it's done.
Yes.
So those are not blocking.
Yes.
If you stayed at the hotel and you plugged into one of the rapid chargers
Yeah.
and went to sleep,
Yes.
that would not be on.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is charging etiquette.
Yeah.
So with rapid chargers, the idea is you get in, you do a fast charge. As soon as your car's charged, off you go.
Yes.
With fast chargers or 7 kilowatt chargers, you plug them in overnight and forget them. Yeah. Right. So that journey.
So the following morning, fully charged, and we completed the rest of our journey.
Right. Any range anxiety? Did it worry you on the way? You probably had it before you set off, but once you set off?
No, a little bit of anxiety that I wouldn't be able to find a charger available at the service station, and I had a plan B, which was to set off in the morning and try the next charge point.
Okay.
But didn't need a plan B. Made it down to our destination. Drove a little bit whilst we were down in Devon, down to the beach, etc. So I had plenty of charge for that. The holiday property that my brother-in-law was staying at, they had a charger there.
Oh, okay.
It was a public charger, but it was at their property.
Okay.
We went there one night for a barbecue, and I plugged it in whilst I was there, and I drove back and had enough charge to drive half of my journey, the return journey.
So roughly back to where you charged on the way down.
Roughly. Yeah.
And then you charged up there. That would be a rapid or ultra rapid charger.
Yes, it was. It was.
And so you'd been there, half an hour or so?
I think it was about 25 minutes. So I had time to grab a quick burger and jump in the car and back to Preston.
And then they got you back here.
Yeah.
So your overall experience is quite a positive one,
it was.
I assume.
It was. Yeah, okay. No problems at all.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you've got a message for any of the viewers out there who've got all the fears that you had, you've now done it. Have you got a message for anyone who's thinking of doing this? What would you say?
I'd just say go for it. Yeah, I really would. I'll never look back. And like I said previously, family members changing their car recently, and I tried to convince them to go EV. They said probably next time. Yeah. And
so your experience has been positive.
Yeah, really
is there anything about the car that you would rather it was different, better or different? Anything that niggles you? Anything that's missing?
No, I would say, I think it's worth saying that in winter when it's colder, your range is reduced. I probably wasn't as prepared for that as I should have been. But once you readjust and realise you're not going to get the same distance, but motoring is still so much cheaper than filling up with diesel or petrol. So
and you don't go on holiday to the beach in the winter.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So I've no real long journeys this time.
So come the summertime, you've got your longer range, and then it's good for your longer journeys if you do them. And going up to the lakes, you can get up there obviously on a single charge.
So I went up to Keswick, and
Keswick's about 70 miles, 80 miles, something like that.
Yeah. So it was a cold weekend, so it was it was low single figures, and I still got there and back without having to charge.
Oh, excellent! So for those who say there's no range in the winter, it is reduced. It's not no range.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most cars these days have around about a 200-mile range. And Kendall, I know I've done the journey many times.
Yeah.
Keswick's further north, isn't it?
North Lakes, yeah.
And that's one where it's probably reaching the limits. You'd be coming home 10-20% charge, I would imagine.
Yes, yeah.
But not running out.
No.
And there are charges on the way.
Plenty of charges on the way.
Plenty of charges on the way.
Yeah.
And if you find, like me, sometimes you just need to stop for 5 minutes, just plug it in, just give you enough to get home.
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
And the reason for that, for anyone who's not aware of it, why on earth would you go to a motorway services and plug in at 79 pence when if you can make it back here, he's paying 7.5p? It's 1/10 of the price. So most EV drivers, once you realise this, you aim to get home with nothing left in the battery.
Yes, yeah.
Pay as little as you can out on the road. But when you have to go and pay out on the road, 79p, what is it? You know, if it costs you an extra £5 or £8 or £10 over and above charging at home, it's only like taking the kids down the beach and buying them an ice cream, isn't it? Yeah. It's a one-off cost, so it's not something that should severely affect you. So overall experience, very positive.
Yeah, really positive. Yeah.
And you're going to stay with EVs or are you going to go back to ICE?
No, certainly staying with EV. Certainly staying with EV. Yeah, I think it's a 4-year lease. So
right.
Once the 4 years up, I'll look for an upgrade. I think. Yeah.
Because there's going to be quite a significant amount of technical changes in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
I know I've got the Tesla, which was very advanced at the time.
Yeah.
But even today, it's a 7-year-old car.
Yeah.
It's got some features which are amazingly good today.
Yeah.
But when I go in the new Model Y, I notice a huge difference.
Yes.
Mine is missing out on so much. And I think that's one of the beauties of leasing, is that in 4 years' time, there will be changes in technology. And that means you've got your pick of it.
Yes.
Whereas if you buy it, you're stuck with it.
Yeah.
Now, my car is a really good car. It does everything I want it to do. So I've got no problem with it. But I do occasionally think, I could do with that. I think that would be nice to have. So this is the advantage of leasing against buying. And my personal opinion, I've bought my Tesla. And the reason for that is once I retire, once I don't have a set income, I can't really finance a car. So for me, a few years ago, purchasing a car is great because it's paid off and I can now enjoy that car for the rest of my driving experience, fingers crossed. Whereas if during your working life you are constantly financing a car on a loan and every time the loan ends you just go and get another one and start another loan, there's no difference between paying a loan every month and paying a lease every month.
Yeah.
So if the lease is cheaper, lease. If the purchasing is cheaper, purchase. It doesn't make a lot of difference. But most people are finding, like Tom's finding, is that leasing is really quite affordable. Yeah. And if you're coming from a petrol or diesel car, the fuel savings alone will pay an awful lot towards your lease.
Yeah.
So it makes it a very nice car, very advanced car. So in terms of quality, you mentioned it's actually up there with the BMW.
Yeah.
You still think that?
Yeah, I'd say in terms of driving experience, it's a much nicer experience. It probably doesn't handle as well as the BMW did.
Because it's an SUV, it's a taller car.
Yeah, it's a taller car, and I had low profile tyres, I think, on the BMW. So these are quite thick and spongy ones.
Yeah.
I say spongy, they're not spongy, but they're a lot thicker. So it doesn't handle quite as well, but it rides over the bumps and the potholes a lot easier.
Yeah. Whereas in the BMW, it's breaking
you
your
felt
spine, isn't it?
every single kink in the road, yeah.
But I always say that while it's great getting a BMW, it's got the sport and everything else.
Yeah.
It does have the downside, and as you say, you go over a bump in a BMW, you know it.
Yeah.
And I find the BMW seats very hard and very. They really lock you in. Now, if you're throwing a car around the country roads, that's good.
Yeah.
But if you're doing commuting, it's not that useful.
No.
Whereas the more comfortable ride is. So overall experience, you're happy?
Yeah, really happy.
That's really good.
Really happy. Yeah.
Right, well, thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, click the like button. And if you do want to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button and click the bell notification. Thanks for watching. I'm Dave.